been doing that. So then this kind of stuff's really cool because then I can like talk about, stuff like this and not have to, play Sweet Caroline and bullshit like that.
Yeah, I feel that. So I just pressed record, so we're going.
Oh, right on, cool.
Welcome back to Anything Goes with Jackson Neill Local Edition, the series where I spotlight musicians from Philadelphia, PA. Anything Goes with Jackson Neill podcast is broadcast and published straight here from the city of brotherly love. So I want to give a chance to some local musicians here in my area. I had Eddie the Kid on before the new year. Now bringing on Dom Levy. He is a local musician here in the Philadelphia area. Does a lot of bass guitar, does a lot of other crazy cool stuff like that. He has some awesome stories about his family. His dad was a comedian on the Howard Stern show. Lots of cool stories from him. Had an awesome time talking with him. He brought his own guitar, so if you hear a little bit of a soundtrack in the background throughout the interview, that's him strumming along. Really fun talking with him. Enjoy the conversation.
So just kind of like start off, like,
right.
How did you get into music? Like, what is that story?
Okay, so the first real reason, people mostly say, like, oh, I did, like, oh, I saw a concert. And it's because I saw Paul McCartney live. But originally, I started playing guitar, and I wasn't good at it because I was like, I'm going to try to get a girlfriend playing guitar.
Okay.
And I sucked at guitar and all that. And so then I got to playing bass, and then I saw Paul McCartney live, and I was like, oh my God, like, you can actually do this and actually, like, have fun doing it. And I'm like... And I was like, wow. So then my dad played bass back in the 70s, and he's like, oh, I'll show you. And he like showed me like a Zeppelin song, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I just kind of fell in love with it, and I just got infatuated with playing. It was just like, I was just sitting there just like, it's just, there's something like, most of the time in my life, like, I love infatuation. Like, that's what happens to me. I get like with weather or, space stuff, and with music, it just never like burned out. Mm-hmm. It's just this weird thing, You
can always be like creating new stuff with it.
Yeah, and it's just like, there's so much of the language, you know what I mean? And I mean, same thing with space and all that, but I just, after a while, you kind of get, okay, there's stars up there, and there's a planet, and there's a sun, and you don't want to go up there because you'll die. You don't never die playing music unless you're like John Lennon or some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just, I just got into it doing that, and I was just like, yeah, like, this is pretty cool, you know what I mean? Like, I can make up some stuff moving my fingers, and, then people will give you joints at shows, and you're just like, yeah, man, like, this is a good life until I'm, like, 25, It's I love it, and just the creativity in writing, too, is something that I just, you could just write about anything. Mm-hmm. You can write about, like, someone on a computer, and if you, like, have a good melody and good chords, and, has a decent meaning to it, people go like, holy shit, like, that's a cool thing. Yeah. It's hard to do that kind of stuff, though,
Yeah.
Songwriting's hard.
Yeah. So you mentioned there, like, your father, like, taught you how to play, like, bass and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, would he be one of the biggest musical influences for you?
Well, nah, because he sucked at bass. He taught me, he's like, here's, all you need to do is do... And that's the whole song. That's all Black Sabbath's, like, B-side of the record. And I'm just like, wow, like, it's just, like, real basic shit. And I'm like, well, this is not fun. It was fun, kind of, but then I'm just like, for influences, that's when I got into the Beatles, so Paul McCartney on bass, and, he's an amazing bass player. Yeah. And I love his vocals, too. I've tried to listen to his vocals, and, like, I've always tried to copy him for so long, and it's, like, it's hard to do, because his range is amazing, his tone's amazing. But, yeah, like that, Ray Charles, he's a little influence on just, like, songwriting, and his voice. Steve Winwood on bass, John Entwistle, John Paul Jones, Brian Wilson for writing, like, from the Beach Boys, loved him. I got into Jackson Browne a little bit. Tom Petty, as anybody would,
Yeah, just the classics.
Tom Petty's great. He's the idea of just like, he's up there, he's just writing songs, he doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, yeah, like, I'm just fucking... And then he's just, and then he died, and I'm just like, oh shit, and you're like, fuck, and he just play American Girl, and you're like, alright, everything's alright. But fucking, I don't know, what other influences?
But I mean, like, something you keep on mentioning so far is, like, how big songwriting is for you.
Oh, yeah.
That's, like, I just kind of want, like, you to touch on that. Like, what does it mean to you to, like, be able to write a song? Like, what's your process like?
It's, like, I don't know, like, it's songwriting and all that, and the process is weird, because it's, like, I can't just sit there and be like, I'm gonna write a song. Because, like, I'll write something, but I'll hate it. But, like, I'll just write a song where, like, I had this one song called, like, Thought of You Again. I never put it out, but I play it out all the time. And it just like, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like really sad about shit. It was like after a breakup I had, and I was just like really sad, and it's like, you know, I'm gonna write this little thing, and it has some little jazz chords to it. And I was just like, you know, I wrote the whole thing in like 10 minutes, and I was just like, fuck, you're like, what? Like, how is this? This is the time I didn't want to write a song. I'm trying to go to sleep, and I'm just like, you know, figuring out, and, you know, but yeah, songwriting to me is so important too, because like I started out as like a cover artist, you know, playing covers and all that, and people, you know, requesting all this, and I was just like, after a while, I feel like musically I was just sounding good and not musically doing anything. I wasn't going out there and trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna try something. I was just going like, oh, my voice sounds good in this song and people are enjoying it, which I feel like once you get to that point, you can continue that, and I have people that I know that do that. But when you start writing, you kind of start, you lose a lot of the people watching you, but you start gaining like this little bit of people that are like, okay, you know, I'm watching all that. And having a room full of 4, my dad told me this too, like having a room full of 4 people who are really into your shit is so much better than having, you know, fucking 100 people. I mean, it's always great to have 100 people watching you play, but like, for like when you're playing, everyone's just shit-faced and they don't really care and they're talking, and this guy over here is trying to hook up with this girl, and you know, these people are arguing about this. You're like, what the? It's loud and all that. That's why I like little quiet folk clubs and little, you know, things, because you can just like, I don't know, I like when people, like, when I listen to music and all that, like, I do, you know, have a good time and I do groove around, but sometimes I just like listening to it, and I feel like that's more things that I think people should do. And I know people listen to music, but, you know, especially like live, not live, but local artists. That's a really big thing to me, is the local original music scene, because I've been to so many things. There's meetings, and, you know, they talk about it, and it's more talk about like, oh, how do we promote the bands, or how do we get the bands on these shows, which, you know, that contributes to people hearing them. But also, like, no one talks about like, oh, well, how is, you know, how do I word it? Like with songwriting, how is it? How do I word this?
It's like I think I know what you're trying to say, but like it's a tough thing to word. Like a lot of things. Yeah,
they're worrying about how to promote it so then the booker can still make money off somebody's songs. They're not really worrying about the songs, and it may be different. It may just be my perception of it. But, you know, so that's when I just got out of like playing live stuff, because like I was playing in, you know, a lot of original groups where other people were writing, and it was fun and all that. But then like they would be great songs, but people just wouldn't give a fuck. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's upsetting, you know what I mean? Because like,
yeah, it's a hard thing, I feel like, nowadays to break into that whole original songwriting.
Oh yeah.
Because it's easier than ever to be able to put your music out and give it to the masses.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's so much harder to get them to listen because there's so many other people doing it. It's just a hard.
Yeah, because it's like why would I listen to something that I've never heard that I might not like if I can just put on A Day in the Life?
Yeah.
And listen to that, and, you know, I mean, that's a perfectly great argument, and I completely support that. But then like, I always try to figure a way to support like the local musicians, and I try. You know, I there's a lot of there's a band called Deck Card Sid that's from my area. Fucking amazing. Like, they do, like, it's their arrangements, their chord use, their melodies. They're long songs. It's, you know, this like really, and they're all like connected and all that. It's almost like, you know, like I can't even explain it. You know what I mean? That's what I love. I can't explain it. And that's what makes it such a good thing, because it's so new. You know, you can't relate it to anything. And you know, they're great, and, you know, and there's a whole bunch of great, you know, Oddfellow Church, all these like small little. I mean, there's people that are coming out to see them, and I feel like just like helping that scene more, and trying, you know, and getting people out of their comfort zone musically, because like getting, you know, for me, like I'll just listen to someone throws me something, I'll be like, I'll listen to it, you know. But for a regular, it's hard for somebody to go like, oh, I'm gonna listen to this. Yeah. And even like with promotion, like my dad, you know, he'll put my stuff out, and he has a bit of a following, and still I'm only getting like 100 views on you know, a thing, and that's, you know, musically that's nothing, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's better than I mean, I'm happy I have it, you know what I mean? I'm happy because it's better than having, you know, nothing, or, you know, there's still people out there that enjoy it if there's 3 or 4 of them. Yeah. But it's you know, it's just a really interesting subject. You know, it's like songwriting to me is very magical. It's just magic. Yeah. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's no way to explain it. And and it's crazy that way when you describe it, because, like, you know, just as a listener, you can tell those songs that you have no idea why that turn of phrase works. Like, one song that I always think to myself that I'm just fascinated by is a song like Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen. Oh, Bruce Springsteen's great. And the way, just the phrase Born to Run, it's so simple, but yet it hits you in such a way. That's it too. It's the simplicity too. At the same, like, I'm a big fan of Paul McCartney. He has stuff like Live and Let Die. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's Live and Let Live. You know, and he goes Live and Let Die. You know what I mean? you know, he's doing it. And you're like, wow, it's like so simple. And then I'll sit there and I'll be like, huh, what's something that's really simple I can write about? And then once you think about it, it's over. You can't think it. You know, it's not gonna pop. It's like, you know, whenever you try to think of something, it just won't happen.
Yeah, you need that feeling. You need that waking up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, you need that. You need that random like basically. I'm an idiot sometimes, and I'll just say things that make no sense, and sometimes they work. You know what I mean? And like. That's what I realized. Like, I forget. I said something one time. I wrote into a song. I can't remember at this point, but I was just like, my friend's like, that's fucking dumb, and I'm like, no, it's genius. Watch this. And then I wrote this little song. It ended up being a really shitty song, but it was a cool little thing. You know what I mean?
Cool little part.
Like songs like I have like a song called like Yesterday's Girl, and that's, you know, it's just about like, you know, me and my dad kind of worked on that one. That was like one of my first things, and it's like, you know, it's real simple. It's Yesterday's Girl, you know, yesterday's world, yesterday is gone, you are too, you know, and. That's a really groovy little thing. It's just like, oh, I get it. Like, yesterday, you know, yes. But then it also, in my mind, whenever I play it, I feel like people are going to think I'm some, like, man-whore. Because it's like, oh, that's yesterday's girl. You know what I mean? Oh, here's today's. You know what I mean? And I hope people don't perceive it that way because, I mean, I wish life was like that. But no.
I mean, that's the hard part about music, though, is that
it's all about perception, too.
Yeah, and sometimes your song might get perceived a different way than you might have even intended it to.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about, like, stuff with, like, Neil Young and all that. I love Neil Young. Neil Young's like one of my really big influence. I've heard, so I can't believe I forgot to listen to him all the way here, live at Massey Hall. Great concert, 1971. Acoustic, he has some piano, and he has a back brace on the whole time.
Oh, wow.
He's weird. I think he just wore it for fun.
Oh, I thought he had an injury or something.
Nah, he's weird. Long hair and shit like me. But, nah, he's just like, he'll write some lyrics that are just like, they sound like they mean something, and they do mean something to him. But like you can just like think like, oh, what the fuck? I never heard that. Yeah. It's anything with any folk music, even with Dylan, like Bob Dylan, like you just hear some, and you'll be like, wow, like, yeah, I get it, but like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's peculiar.
Yeah, I know that feeling. You just like listen to it. It's like, I feel this, I get it, but I don't really get it.
And then you put your own twist to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like most of the time when I listen to music, I like going out on drives, and I listen to music. You know, I'll just sit by myself and drive, or I'll drive with my girlfriend, and it's really fun. She shows me a lot of really cool music. She got me into a lot of just like the weird indie stuff, and you know, she got me into Elliott Smith and Jeff Buckley, and you know, I love both of them now. But, you know, there's Jeff, and then, you know, I just drive around, you know, get stoned. I always feel like, I don't know, I always talk about, like, getting stoned and listening to music, but sometimes I like being, like, I'll just driving, you know, sober, and just being like, wow, I really, you know, I, like, really get into it, and through good sounds, you know, car speakers, which are my dad's car, so I have to be like, Dad, I'm gonna take your car for, like, 2 hours. He goes, what are you doing? I'm just driving. Yeah. Then he'll get mad because I burn all his gas, but, like, there's just another magical feeling with that, too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know the exact feeling when, like, there's certain albums I feel like that come out from my favorite artists. It's almost like I look for an excuse to have an hour in the car or whatever in the car that day.
The reason I'm late a lot of times to places is because I'll be driving, and I was a little late today because I tried parking and Philly. I thought in my head, I'm like, oh, it's 30 minutes away. I'll just leave at like 9:25, you know. And then I'm just like, wait a second, it's Philly. No, but you know, I'll just drive around extra just so I can hear like the B-side of Abbey Road or something. I love listening to that, you know, where it's like, one step was away to get back home, you know. I love that, and that whole collage of songs to the end, and it goes into, you know, to the end, and then it has, you know, Her Majesty, and that's, you know, that's a little thing at the end of that album. But I love, it's just a feeling that you get. It's like, it's an overwhelming feeling, in my opinion. It's like a body, like sometimes there's some things I hear, and like my whole body has this like, it kind of like torts kind of, it's weird. You know?
Yeah, that feeling when you hear the right thing. So I just want to touch on, you mentioned to me walking into here that, you know, you play bass for some bands, you've been playing that. So like, what have you been doing kind of recently, I guess?
Recently, as I've actually had a really bad problem with being able to play. I have tendonitis in both arms, so it's painful to play. Like I have it in my wrist, my elbow, you know, and it's from playing, because I play about like 6 or 8 hours a day. I don't work at all. I was working at a pizza shop. I was working like 12 hours a day, and then I was gigging on the other, because I said I'll work as much as you want me to work. Then when I have a gig, I'm taking off. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, sure. And then I ended up having a gig, and they're like, well, we give you Sundays off for that. So I said, okay, I quit. And I quit, and it was a good paying job, you know what I mean? I had a few grand saved up after a few months, and I was just like, fuck yeah, you know? And and so then I was going to college for music, teaching music, and I can't teach music because it's just I don't think like I don't read sheet music. I just do it all by ear, so I can't explain to somebody like, well, how do you do this? And I'll go, just use your ear, because they're gonna go, what do you mean? You know. Yeah. So then I was just sitting at home and I was writing and all that, and I was just playing a lot, and I got really into like all this, and I've always been like that, even before I was and then all of a sudden I'm like, my arms are like starting to hurt when I play now. It burns, and I went to the doctor and they like pressed on like this part of my arm, which for the people listening, it's like the elbow part or something. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it hurts really. And they go, oh, you have tendonitis, and I go, nice.
That's great.
And they go, what's the best thing to do? They go, stop playing for like 2 weeks or a month, and I'm like, nice. You know what I mean? Like this is exactly what I needed, and it kind of is what I needed because I was working in 6 groups, and
oh wow.
I was getting like every night I was rehearsing, and like it was getting to a point where like I was just starting to like every week felt the same and every day felt the same, and once I start getting in that, I hate that pattern, you know what I mean, where everything starts, because then you'd start losing your sense of just everything, and you just think like, oh god, this is gonna be the rest of my life, I'm scared. And it wasn't that there was anything negative going on because I enjoyed playing with the groups, but I was just like putting so much into everything where it was kind of just like I, as a person, I was just like devolving into nothing. Yeah. And that's just something I do. I just get really involved with stuff. And that sucked really bad, because then and then when I had tendonitis, I was like, fuck. And then I got a call from my friend down in Florida, and he's like, do you want to move down here, play my band? And I'm like, huh. And I was thinking like, well, if I, dropped out of the bands I was playing, it would give me like a 2 weeks or a month, just, not play, and I'll go down there and play. And I have a place to live, and it's a new start for a little bit, Yeah. And, that's what I'm doing now with that.
Yeah, I mean, so you say you're going down to Jacksonville. That's in 2 weeks? Yeah, about 2 weeks.
The 20th I'm driving down there.
Okay, so is that literally 2 weeks from today?
Yeah,
literally 2 weeks from today when we're recording this on the 6th. Yeah. So, just what are you feeling like going into that? What do you kind of expect?
Oh, I'm really nervous a lot because I'm leaving back a lot of people, and I'm just like. It's a really hard thing because like I put music in front of everything in my life, and it's very detrimental to a lot of like things, like as relationships and friendships and parentships or whatever the fuck you call them. And like I have to explain like like the band, some of the bands that I quit, they were really upset about it, and I go, you don't understand, like if shit works out really good, I'm gonna come back and bring all you guys with me. You know what I mean? Bring all the people who were helped me out and that deserve to make some point of that deserve what they worked for, you know what I mean? Like original groups and all that, and cover groups even. And a lot of people were upset, and like it's been hard because like even like the relationship. I mean, I'm like I want to do the long distance thing, and that's a bit of a I think it'll work out. I think, but also I'm just I can't explain it. You know what I mean? It's with everything. You know what I mean? And also I'm always convinced everybody hates me because I'm crazy, and I sit in my room and play guitar all day.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like kind of like a tough thing. It's crazy you just said put music in front of everything, because in an email you sent me, you literally said that same exact line, and I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah. Because when you are dedicated to something, when you do it, when that's everything to you, I guess it's kind of hard to have other things as well.
Yeah, I get like I love. It's not even like a love. It's just like that's just what I do. I never was like a person before I started playing. I was just this person who went to school and all that and did decently average, like, and then I just kind of started playing and I kind of forgot about it all. Yeah. And I just went like, why would I work hard in this if I can just work hard in something I love? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So I just got into it, and I've met a lot of people. I've been in good situations, bad situations, and that's the fun part. The bad situations, like getting stuck in a state where you can't really drive home. You're selling equipment to get home. That happened to me recently, and I think that's just so fun. You know what I mean? And you write about it, and then that's how songs I think are written, or I think they are. I don't know.
You gotta. I mean, a lot of those old, especially the classic kind of artists, it's like you hear those songs from earlier in their career, and it's just like, oh, I had to like, sell my guitar to get to the next show to pick up something, and that's kind of the part about being a young musician, I guess.
Yeah, and I think like right now, like because I'm 19 at the moment, be 20 this month, I think. Was this February? We're in February, right?
Yeah, February.
Oh shit! Wow, I don't know the calendar. February 24th. Yeah, I'm turning 20, and I'm just like, it's a crucial part about, I guess, being a musician full time, because that's the part where you start going like, okay, I can keep playing open mics, but it's either I do something or I'm done. You know what I mean? And by the time you're like, unless you have something like really good going, you just start, you you just start turning into another person at like an open mic who's an older person. You know what I mean? There's nothing against that, but you know, if you want to do something, you know, it's not that I don't want to become famous anyway, because I don't like that idea. I can't handle, if I have a lot of money or something, I'm terrible with it. I don't, like right now I'm jet broke. I have not, I made that saying up, I think, jet broke, I don't know. So it makes no sense to some people, but yeah, I just like, I have no money. Like right now, I probably have $1. I found $1 in my dad's car.
Okay, there you go.
So that's a good start. So I can go get some, you know. But I feel like when I was working and I had money, like that was like I was like, oh, I had money, and I was just fucking throwing money out the window. Like someone's like, oh, I need like to buy like $300 or whatever. I'm like, just fucking take it, you know. Yeah. I wouldn't care. Then like, I just wasn't happy though, you know. Like having money for me is just not, because then I just like it takes away from like the like. I don't even know what this thing is. I just sound like, I feel like I sound like an idiot when I say like I don't like having money, but like stuff like that, like being famous, having people like, I always watch like famous people getting interviewed by the paparazzi and shit, and I hate that. I'm like, because like I already hate, like, it's not that I hate it, but like when I get off stage and all that, I like to just run. Like I have really bad social interactions. Okay. So like when I get off stage, people go, oh my god, you know how people, you know, they go, oh, that's not really really loud, and that's just overwhelming. And like I had a situation last night where I was playing somewhere, and that happened, and I was like, I was bugging out, you know. People were like touching me, they were like, and that's one of my things. I was just like, come on, you gotta give me a second. And they thought I was mad at them. I'm like, no, you can't just run up to somebody, you know, and be like, oh, you know, like, and then just people get upset and they go, you're egotistical and you only care about yourself and you just want to hear yourself play and get off. And I go, no, I can't handle it.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean. There's like this difference, like when it comes to artists and like our society, it's like this different level of like, we demand so much from them sometimes, even the people who are just coming right off stage. It's like, oh, you know, I'm having a beer right now, I want to have it with him. Get over here, buddy.
Yeah, and I don't even drink either. Like, I do drink, I mean, I'm not old enough to drink, but people always are like, oh, let me buy you a shot, let me buy it. And I'm like, no, I like, on my idea, like, I'm on stage, I'm playing guitar, I didn't just save someone's kid on stage, you know what I mean? Like, why they want to give me all this shit, you know? Yeah. And it's like, I get really, like, upset, and I always say, I have a lot of problem with social interaction, because when I was, like, 9 or 10, I was diagnosed with Asperger's, and, which makes sense, because with the infatuations with all that, that's one of the, like, symptoms of it. Yeah. So, like, that's most of the time when I was younger, I was like really infatuated with like tornadoes, and I still am. I love the weather. I want to be a storm chaser. Besides a musician, my second thing is I would love to be a tornado chaser in like the Midwest, because I could just be by myself and and in my dream just retire from that and live in Wyoming. You know. Okay. So I have a really backwards point of view on a lot of things. But yeah. So like that kind of stuff. And again, infatuated with guitar and social interactions suck. It's like, one good thing is like it makes me want to play guitar a lot, but also to ruin any bit of like normalcy in my life, you know what I mean? I can't just be that, kid who, in high school is like, hey man, like let's go party. Because I would just be like, I don't know, I can't walk into the party because I'll just be like, oh, people are gonna be looking at me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I can't, like, even when I was like walking up the street, I was just like holding the guitar and all that, because I don't have a case. So, my friend broke it as a joke. So it gives me an excuse to play more, I guess.
I find that so crazy though, like, you're saying like, oh, I don't want people to look at me, but then it's like, let me go on stage.
To me, that's a whole different, like, going on stage, like, it's I still get a cut, but it's like I just like presenting, you know what I mean? Like, if there was just a little box that could just like project my voice and the guitar playing, just, out there, that would be kind of cool, you know what I mean? But sometimes I enjoy it, if there's like a good crowd and there's people that are really into it, I'll be into it, you know what I mean? Because then I'll be like, wow, they're not here just because it's sad, they here because they like the material, and I like that, you know what I mean?
And I think it gets back to your point of like, you'd rather have the lesser fans loving your own material than maybe just being the guy who plays Sweet Caroline to 100 people.
Yeah, and like even like people get when they like, okay, my thing I hate the most is like people like, well, Paul McCartney is, I love Paul McCartney a lot. Like I just love it, you know what I mean? I listen to his stuff all the time. But then, there's just people that go to his shows and it's not their fault, you know what I mean? It's nothing negative towards them. It's just something, one of my pets, it's like, they barely know anything about the artist they're going out to see. And I get that they're probably going out to learn about them, but like, I just get like so, and then when people try to tell them, like, people argue, and I'll be like, oh, that's John singing. Like, no, that's Paul singing. They go, oh, no, that's John singing. I'm like, no, this is Paul singing. I've made sure, And it's probably just a pretentious trait of mine, which I realize I've had a lot of them. And that's just because my fucking dad, his assholeness and all that.
But something else you said that kind of brought up something was you mentioned like, you know, you're turning 20 or upcoming, and like you just don't want to be like another one of the old guys like at the mic events.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of had this feeling for a little while in music, but especially like right now, I feel like people are being forced to make it, and that age of being, whether you're gonna be something or not is like getting younger and younger.
Yeah, and it's outrageous because they're making people famous before they can actually make good material.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing I think I'm gonna write now or in the next few years is gonna be good. I mean, it's good material, but it's not gonna be like outstanding. You know what I mean? Like, there's people who do that, but you know, when they're like I feel like the Beatles are like one of the best. You know, because like there was Paul McCartney or John Lennon. They were all great writers, but together they're just amazing. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't know if I found those people yet. You know, I'm moving down to Florida with my buddy Kurt, and he writes too, but he can't write without people. And when me and him write together, we have pretty good sessions. You know, we have like we'll come up with some really good stuff, but it's like, you know, it's just weird. I can't explain it. You know what I mean? It's just the whole thing of songwriting. Like whenever I try to think about it, it's like I just think it's like a little cloud, and if you can catch the cloud real quick, then then there it is. You know what I mean? But you know, I don't feel like anybody knows how to write songs. I feel like it's just a trait that you know you just develop, but you can't really develop it because like there's people that have been songwriters for 30 years and they're garbage. You know what I mean? And like I support it, but like I had some guy critique some of my music. He's one of my dad's friends, and he was just telling, the song's a bit too fast, and this part doesn't make sense, and you can't sell it. And as soon as he said you can't sell it, anything I took from his credibility away, because if you're looking at a song to be like, oh, well, you can't sell this to a whole bunch of people. You're not listening to the song. You're just thinking, oh, can I make money off this?
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. Like, I mean, it's always been a something in the music industry, and it's still there today. That they only listen to be, are you commercially viable? Can you sell a lot of records?
I hate that.
And it's just like at a certain point. I mean, you know, there's a ton of artists I feel like that you listen to, it's like, oh, this guy definitely would not sell a lot of records. But because he got a chance, he was then able to, and everyone was like, oh, I love his music, or I love her music.
I feel like once somebody gets the proper... I feel like another thing, too, is a lot of support systems and all that, like supporting artists, you know, what I'm saying. Like, because, like, you know, I like when people critique my stuff really hard, because it makes me go, like, you know, I feel like another wild opinion of mine, I feel like the best kind of way to get somebody better is to just tell them they suck. Because that's what happened to me. You know, I was playing in my buddy's band. When I first started playing bass, I sucked. I was terrible. I just started playing, you know, and his dad just fucking told me I sucked every fucking day. And, like, I hate the guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, he told me I couldn't sing. He made fun of me. He's like, you sound Tiny Tim. And, like, you know, said all this shit. And, like, you know, he's always, you know, had problems with me, and he doesn't like me, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, just from him, he might be one of my biggest inspirations, because he told me I sucked for years. You know, I've been playing since 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. And that it just made me want to go, like, motherfucker, like, you, and I just want to prove him wrong, you know, because I started playing sports before I was into music, and I'm just like, you know, I have a bit of competitiveness in me, you know what I mean? And that's why I like doing studio stuff, because you can sit there and you can put all your competitiveness here, and you can put, you know, I'm going to add this, man, this little harmony, and then, you know, and doing it live is fun, but then you have to have, like, 3-4 guitar players, you know, because you just write all stuff. But yeah, it's like...
something you told me, and I actually heard about this from Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
Your dad was on the Howard Stern show.
Oh, yes.
So can you tell me a little bit, was that right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, he was on there. He quit in 2010, and, like, I met people like Beetlejuice.
Okay.
Beetlejuice, he was cool. I have a funny story. We were cooking some barbecue stuff in the back. My mom said to my dad, like, oh, is it done? Beetlejuice was there. And he goes, let me check it. And he picks up and he licks it, puts it back down, and he goes, it ain't done yet. My mom goes, we gotta throw this shit away now. Like, he's just licking shit, you know? And that, you know, and just you know, it was really cool, like, really, like, looking back on it. Like, I was young, so I didn't know my dad, like, was a comedian. So he's leaving and he's coming back, and he was making really good money, so it was really cool and all that, and he was, like, you know, buying me stuff. I'm just like, what's my dad do for a living? And then I find out he's a comedian. He used to eat blue cheese out of people's asses on stage and shit.
Oh my God.
He was fucking wild. Yeah. And, you know, he's one of the nicest people I know. Asshole, one of the nicest people and I live with them. Living with them is so interesting, because we're basically the same person, and we just argue with each other. Musically, we argue, because I started writing with him.
Okay.
Because since he's, you know, good with words, because he's a comedian, I wasn't good at words at the time, but I was good at writing melodies and chords. So I was just like, hey, like, fucking let's do some shit, you know what I mean? And we wrote some songs that I still play today that I really enjoy, and you know, and we just argue about it. But yeah, living with him, like, he's just a very interesting character. He's somebody who's, you know, I kind of want to be, because he never really worked a day in his life. And, like, I've worked, and he's worked, you know what I mean? But he's, like, pursued comedy since he's been 20 years old. And he was born in 1962. He's fucking old now, like 50-something. And he's been doing comedy ever since. And there's been times where he struggled, but, like, he takes the risk, you know what I mean? He's hilarious, you know? He's fucking funny as shit. Even just regularly. And just, like, I see that and I go, like, there's a chance, you know what I mean? He's doing comedy, saying the dirtiest shit on, you know, that doesn't sell. Yeah. No one, you know, you can't be on Jimmy Kimmel and telling fucking dick jokes and jokes about fucking people in the ass or some shit. But he's fucking, you know,
that's just crazy though, like, that he's a comedian, like, he's a performer, and you naturally kind of went towards music, another performance-based
thing. Yeah, because I actually did comedy for a while, and the, I had fun doing it. I was like 13, so my dad was writing jokes for me, and my mom didn't want me to do it because she goes, "There's too much drugs and alcohol in that, so you can be a musician."
Oh, that makes sense.
So then, you know, I think after my first gig, I smoked my first joint. You know, so I was like, you know, I was already smoking pot by then. You know, living in my own little town. You know, smoking some shit ass Reggie, and you know, you're just like, it doesn't do anything. But you're like to your friends, like, "Whoa, man, let's get dragging," and they're like, "Whoa," you know, bro, there's this fucking squirrel flying. And they're like, "Wow, cool," and they're like, "We just these are cigarettes now." And that's yeah, it's real interesting. I think he has some of the same problems, like with stage, you know, getting nervous and all that. And how he used to cope with it when he was in his fucking heyday. He used to just go on stage, drink a bunch of Jack Daniels, take like 5 Xanax, and go on stage.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a way to deal with it, I guess.
And I mean, he never looks nervous up there. But like, he'll get off stage and he'll be like, and he'll just talk about it. Like, "Oh yeah, I was just doing it." He's very different on it, because on stage he's just an asshole. And I love it, you know, you can just go up there and just be a shitty person. He's just looking at people in the audience, "Who fucking you did," you know. Yeah. And just, you know, he has a New York accent, so he sounds retarded. So that's messed up. But, attention, I love New Yorkers. My whole family's from New York. But, yeah, Staten Island. But, yeah, seeing him do all that stuff, and it's like inspiring, because it's like, you know, seeing my dad do it, and he sees me do it, and he's upset because he's like, he thinks I'm not doing enough. He's like, you're just sitting there, you know, you're not doing enough, you're not doing the right kind of music and all that. And I'm like, I don't know, I just like writing weird, shitty folk music, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he, you know, he's a really big support system on my stuff, and you know, me and him really don't talk often now, because like I'm always doing shit, I'm getting ready to move. But you know, it's like, back to the idea, like, with a support system. That's the biggest thing I think in a musician's life. You have a good amount of people around you, you know, not being yes men, because that's the worst. That's when shitty material. That's when you get shitty fucking, you know.
Well, they don't tell you you suck, basically.
Yeah, they don't tell. They tell me shit like, you know, they tell me like, you could work on this, but they're also there, and when I write something and they appreciate it, they go, "That's a really good one, you know, good job," you know. And that's almost like, you know, that's almost like a kid who's in sports and, you know, he does a good touchdown or whatever they do in sports. I don't know. And they go like, "Nice," you know what I mean? Like, that's the same thing, but there's also criticism in that, which is great. Criticism is a great tool, and like, schools don't even teach that. They're always about teaching like, everybody is number one, and you know, participation trophies and bullshit like that. And there's nothing against that, because there's some kids who just fucking like that, and they can go fucking do their shit like that. But I feel like when you criticize somebody, it makes them. It's this weird kind of feeling, because like my dad will say some shit, and I'll resent him for a little bit, but I'll be like, "All right, I'll show you. You know, give me 2 weeks to try to write something," and then
you know, it's that classic thing of like, you hear the criticism, you're like, you feel offended, but then you're like, wait a second,
they're right, you know,
they're right. Like, that's a good opinion. So you hate them, but then you're like, oh, well, they help me out. Yeah,
and there's songs where I've written where I'm like, this, you know, really good. This is like, you know, really, and this is exactly what I want to do. And I show it to me, and I go, "This is shit." And I'll just be, and then it just like, it fucks me up for a little bit, because I'll just be like, "Shit." But I have to realize I'm 19 years old. There's no way I've written something that's amazing. You know, I mean, like, because I'm still a fucking kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, although, you know, there's stuff that's coming out that I've been doing, it's like getting there, and I'm really happy about that. Like, lyricism wise, I've been really trying to, like, you know, because I mean, before I got into songwriting, I didn't read a book. The last time I read a book was 3rd grade. Okay. I just don't, you know, I'm not into I have a problem with just comprehending what's on the page, because after a while it just starts turning into all the same things, and I'm reading, but I'm just not getting material from it. So I'll listen to people, or sometimes my girlfriend will read like her book out loud, which is cool, because then I can kind of like process, and I'm very imaginative when I hear stories. The same thing with songs, you know. It's very, I can like picture it and all that. I picture a lot of things, you know what I mean. And that's a really cool thing, and that helps with songwriting too. If you can pick, because then you can just kind of see a scene in your head and be like, how can I draw this out? Like one of the I wrote this one song about a dream I had, and I woke up right away. I'd gotten in the shower or some shit. I came with like the first line in my head, because most of the time I've written song lyrics, I've been in the shower.
Okay, that seems like a great time to write them though.
Because like you're just sitting there singing like do do ba ba do, you know, and it's like oh, you know, you just say a line, you'll be like, all right, like let's see where this goes, you know what I mean? And you know, I was just write that, but like with the song I wrote about, I just pictured my dream that I had. And I like thinking, most of my dreams I have are just terrible nightmares. So that's always, you know, a fun thing to go to sleep thinking, like, oh, I'm going to have a terrible night. I'm excited. But then I kind of use that to, like, you know, to, like, use that for inspiration, where I can be like, oh, I'll use these negative thoughts. Like, my brain's trying to fuck with me. I'll fuck with it back, and I'll write a song about it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a cool thing, because then when you're singing a song about something that you pictured, you think about that dream, and that dream never goes away. And it's like, I remember it's, you know, I can't really explain. I mean, the lyrics have it in there, but just being in that kind of mindset where you think that that's life, and you're just like dreaming in it, and you're going around, and it's like wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just a really wild thought to me that like. And I wonder what somebody else pictures too. Like, what does when someone hears lyrics, do they see the same thing as what I did? Because in my dream, you know, there was just you know, I'm singing these stadium seats that are here, and there's these huge 40, 50-foot waves, and there's little red dots, real blinking lights, like, you know, cell phone towers. And for some reason, there's like a little opening you can see towards the street, and under a street light, there's somebody standing there, and they're way far away, but you see them up close at the same time. And it's like, you know, it's a real like psychedelic kind of dream, and that's you know, those are always the fun ones.
So I just kind of want to ask now, like looking, you know, we're to the new year, 2019. Just like you're moving down to Florida. Just how you feeling for this year?
Two things could either happen. I've already realized that, because since I quit all the bands I was in, I kind of put people in bad predicaments now, because I had to look for bass players and guitar players, and I kind of fucked people over. Didn't mean to do that. That's not my thing. But also, I knew I would have burnt out if I would have kept going, because I would have tendonitis would have eventually just fucked my hands up. I mean, it already has, but whatever, you know, fuck it. I'll just fucking figure out, buy new hands. I don't know. Can you do that?
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
That'd be kind of cool. Say like, yo, I got some new hands. You know. No, but I'm thinking like two things either happen. It could work out in this band, it could be pretty cool, and you know, it could work, and I get original stuff going with them, and you know, I click with them, or it just doesn't work out and I'm completely fucked, and I come back to Jersey and I have no bands to play with, because no one wants to play with the guy who bailed on everybody and is trying to get back. And I always think the negative, so in my head that's going to happen. In my head, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to hate it, I'm going to be like, fuck, and you know, I've ruined my opportunity of ever doing anything. But also one part of me goes, why would I mean, it was a very impulse decision. And I've never really followed on my impulse decisions. And like, you know, I just went, you know, one day I got the call and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And he's just like, that's it? Like, I was supposed to move with him, and I bailed out on him last minute. And this was like a year ago, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So I'm just hoping, you know, musically I keep writing. No matter what I do, I want to keep writing. Even if I'm just not even performing, just keep, you know, working my chops of writing. 'Cause that's a really cool thing to me. And if I can do that, and I can get to a point where I have some enjoyable songs, I'll, you know, release more music. I released a few songs already, and those are pretty groovy. Real lo-fi sound. I love lo-fi recordings.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, it has that kind of feel to it. Not like vaporwave lo-fi, but like kind of like low quality. I hate the sound of really nice sounding things, like recordings in like studios, because like they get the imperfections out, and for me, I don't like the imperfection. I mean, I like the imperfections, sorry. Like, not that if I'm like singing completely off key, but like I just like the old like rough kind of thing, you know.
Well, you said earlier you were on the way here, you were listening to like the one live album.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that you kind of.
Yeah, I love that kind of, you know, and especially with like Elliott Smith, you just see him and he's just in his house recording shit, and he's just giving it to record companies. He goes, this is what I got.
Yeah.
And what they're gonna be like, well, I mean, he did some stuff in the studio, but still he had that basic idea of, let's do it. Because for me, when it gets too advanced, it doesn't turn into music, it just turns into a product.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, although I do shop at all corporate stores like Walmart and bullshit like that, I still kind of, you know, I get a little upset when musically, when I hear something that's really just like, it's really produced and all that. Besides, there's it's a hard explanation because like I do love stuff like Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, and that's a really fucking produced album. But then my really favorite stuff is that like real like because I can relate to that because being someone who can't afford to be like in a recording studio because it costs $100 an hour, being able to get something and really trying hard to get a sound while using shitty equipment that crashes. When me and my friend Corey, like, it just crashes all the time. We'll be doing a bass track and it'll be like error, like there's feedback or some bullshit computer. I don't own a computer, so I don't know how computers work.
Gotcha.
I'm so stuck back in the past. I only have a phone because I know I have to call people.
Yeah. I
don't like computers because I don't know how to use them. I sucked at them. I don't know how to type on them well. I'm just useless basically to any company. But yeah, 2019.
Just sounds like the year of like you're taking a chance.
Yeah, I'm just like this can end two ways, and either I feel like if it fails, I completely deserve it. My opinion, I completely deserve. Right now I completely deserve everything to fail. That's just because I hate myself internally. But if something good happens out of it, then fuck yeah, take
exactly. And it's like if you don't take that chance, I'll take that shot. It's like then you.
What could have never happened. Is gonna happen.
Yeah, you're 19, 20. This is the time to be like, you know what? Let me try.
Yeah, let me
give it a shot.
And like, people think I'm crazy because like all of a sudden I was like one day I was in Jersey, next day I'm just like, oh, I'm moving.
Yeah.
Like the bands I was in, I didn't tell them because I didn't know how to tell them. I just put it on Facebook like an asshole. Going, I'm moving. I'm just going. You know what I mean? And I think a big part of it is just I needed a change. You know what I mean? Because like I'm stuck in the same thing, living at my dad's house and doing the same thing, waking up, feeding my 2 little cats. Going downstairs. My dad wants us to run to the store every day. Then I go do that. Have a band practice maybe at the night, or I'll just go back to the house, or I go to a bar and have a shitty time because I hate bars, but I go there anyway. I don't even drink, and I just go there, and then I just don't understand bar culture. That's a whole nother hour of me talking about how much. I just don't understand how people can go into a bar with strangers, get shit faced, because that's how bad decisions are made.
Yeah.
And like. That's what I mean. Kurt were actually talking about. He's just like, I just don't get it. I'll just sit with my homies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. It's just. I don't understand the world. Maybe the world's fine, and I'm just so corrupt in my head at this point where I'm just like, I don't understand it. Or I think it's just I can't process it. Yeah. I just can't process people. I can't, walking in a room full of people, like go with a guitar. I just felt like I was going to do a flash mob thing and start playing a song. That's always really anxiety filled.
But yeah, sounds like a good year you got going for you, and thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. This is really fun. I'd love to do it again.
Again, a big thank you to Dom for coming onto the podcast. Check down in the description, and there you will find all the links to everything that he's doing, where to follow him when he goes to Florida and all that, because I know everyone wants to see what Dom is up to and some of his recorded music, some of his stuff on social media, and all that. Thank you so much to him for coming onto the podcast. With that'll wrap it up for this edition of the Anything Goes with Jax and Neill podcast, local edition. For the national, international, all those kind of interviews, just check out for the normal episodes. Have some really cool ones planned. Also have some more cool local ones planned. Want to show a little bit off of the Philly music scene as I can. In this same podcast feed on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you like to listen to podcasts. There's also the Jax and Neill Sports and the Jax and Neill Music podcast, where I talk about, guess what? Sports and music. So check those out as well. Also down in the description are links to my Twitter and Instagram at JacksonNeil20. Check those out for some additional bonus content and other great things. With that, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all next time.